My name is Dr. Nwankwo Antonio Koboshwezigwe. I am the Odogwu of Ibuzo clan, Delta State, Nigeria. I am also the President, International Coalition Against Christian Genocide in Nigeria. I was the Pioneer Director, Center for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So I'm an expert in African history. And today I am going to address His Excellency, the Governor of Anambra State, Nigeria, Governor Chukwuma Soludo, on the issue of disgraceful, let me put it this way, disgraceful incidents or cases of kinship dispute in Anambra State. I decided to take it under the aegis of somebody from Anioma and from Delta State. I've decided to take it in the form of Anioma identity and in kinship dispute as synonym for abuse of Igbo tradition, where Professor Soludo failed. You see, I'm saying this because as it stands today, there are 16 towns in Anambra State that are having disputes over their traditional kinship. And let me mention them. You have Alo, you have Ogidi, you have Nri, you have Nofia, you have Oka, you have Ihite, you have Azia, you have Amanuke, you have Isuaniocha, you have Awa, you have Ubunka, you have Abacha, you have Bunando, you have Aguleri, you have Ezi Agolo, and then you have Agulisigo. But what concerns me here particularly is Nri, the dispute in Nri town, because of its cultural stance or its cultural importance in Igbo history, in collective Igbo identity and history. And that is why we've decided to see the crisis, kinship drastic crisis in Nri, as the judgment point of Soludo's expertise in managing community affairs. Yes, he had just settled the Oka dispute with an inquiry that returned Ezozo back, and I accept him. I accept his position, because when some people confronted me, oh, he was removed from the position by Oka Town Union, and so I said, look, even if he was removed by the Oka community or whatever, it needed to be ratified by the state government, because Oka did not issue him certificate of recognition. Oka, it is the government. So his primary obedience, his primary, let me say, his primary legal base of existence lies with the government. So it wasn't enough. So that is where I'm trying to look at it when we're not talking about the case of Nri town. Why is Nri town very important? It's very important because that is the only town that has tangible historical connectivity with other states outside Anambra states. Quite more than a dozen towns, a dozen communities, more than a dozen communities in the present data states have links with Inri town. I'm not talking of Imo State. I'm not talking of Enugu State. I'm not talking of Abia State. I'm not talking of Kogi State. So whatever that comes out from Nri town, especially with respect to Ezenri, Toso, is of primary interest to the common interest, to the collective interest of Igbo people as an ethnic group. I remember, and let me recall to the governor, to His Excellency, that in February 2025, I addressed a petition to him over this matter, titled, "I appeal for your executive intervention in Ezenri dispute to safeguard collective Igbo cultural integrity and factual historical consciousness." Why do I say so? And before I start, let me make it clear that I've not had any close relationship with Governor Soludo as I had with my former godfather, former governor of Anambra State, Okwadike Igbo. In fact, Okwadike Igbo, before his death, we sat down. He said I should produce a proposal for the writing of, a documentation of Anambra, his Igbo history in general, starting with Anambra State, town to town. That issue will facilitate it for the government to do what? For the government to approve it, so that this issue of confusion of origin, confusion of Igbo identity should be stopped. I presented the petition. I presented the proposal endorsed by Governor Chukwemeke, former Governor Chukwemeke, and I handed it to Governor Soludo. So Governor Soludo, when he got to it, so he's not interested in cultural matters and so on and so on. Not long after, he started dealing with fake native doctors and ritualists in the same state. This is where we in Delta State, Igbo-speaking group in Delta State, have problem with Anambra State. Let me not talk of other Igbo areas, but I'm talking of Anambra State, which has direct access with us, culturally, economically, linguistically, and historically. Why? Because we, Anioma, our identity is centered more on our customs, traditions, and primordial ethnic origins against collective, what we call collective Igbo language. What unites us strongly with Benin people, it's not language, it's our customs and tradition. We share the same customs and tradition, more. That is even sometimes what unites us with Urobo person. Because when an Urobo person or Benin man comes to Asaba, he sees similarities and he obeys it. He respects it. When an Ibuzo man goes to Benin, any Benin community, he sees commonality in customs and tradition. He respects it and he obeys it. But when someone from Anambra says, who has no such sophisticated customs and tradition, sees what is happening among our people, he brands it as pagan, as paganism, and tries to demean and to disrespect it. That is one reason why some of us have us with the idea of moving with Southeast as one group, even though historically we have never been one people outside language. And as I've always stated it, there are difference between common language spoken and ethnic identity. Yes, language could define the ethnic identity of a particular group, definitive ethnic identity can be associated with language, common language, but they are not always. It's not in all cases that ethnic identity can be defined by language. Not in all cases. But in most cases, yes. But in some cases, no. The Chekri people today virtually speak Yoruba language, but they are not defined as Yoruba. They are Chekri ethnic group. And I've said it. That the Igala language and the Yoruba language are virtually the same. An Igala person does not need to learn Yoruba language. He doesn't need to learn the Yoruba language. They're virtually the same language. But Igala is an ethnic group. Yoruba is an ethnic group. Even the term Yoruba is suffering and it becomes universal identity. It was restricted to only those Oyo speaking groups. And that is why we try to tell our brothers in the Southeast to be very cautious when they are talking about we speak the same language, we are common language, we are Igbo, and so it's not always the same. Real academics don't go into such debates. You can see it among the half-educated, those who have no knowledge of history as a professional course, who have no knowledge of anthropology, who have no knowledge of what is ethnography, who has no knowledge of what is archaeology, who has no knowledge of what is ethno-linguistics. Language as a course is different. Linguistics as a course is different. And the most ridiculous aspect is that even those who profess to be Igbo, 95% of them cannot speak and write in Igbo language. The other time, one of my old students, then when I was active at UNA, invited me to her wedding. One invited me to her wedding. I said, wedding, have you done the traditional wedding? He said, no, traditional marriage will be after church wedding. After church wedding, traditional marriage. That's what you see in the Southeast. So who gave the priest? Who gave the priest? Who gave the priest the wife to the man? So is the priest now the owner of the woman? Because what defines our marriage is the traditional marriage, which is marriage between families, not between individuals. I told you I will not be going to such marriages. Traditional marriage after church wedding, no. You can, if you are going to do civil marriage, civil law marriage, or whatever you call it, court marriage, you can go, yes. But you can't tell me that you still go back. No, it is not so. And no good priest, Christian priest will accept such, because Jesus Christ did not attend the marriage ceremony in a synagogue, in a temple. It was a traditional marriage ceremony that Jesus Christ attended in Canaan. So, but that is by the wayside. The other time, Imo people at one time destroyed Ikenga statue in the name of what is Ikenga? If our people were to be literate before the coming of Europe, the idea of that Ikenga, which is the court of Igbo enterprising spirit, if our ancestors were to be literate, that court, what you now see reduced into a wooden image, should have been converted to writing, because they all have their symbolic meanings. Ram head, human being with ram head, showing that the strength, just as the strength of the ram is in his head, so the strength of man is in his head, brain. They call it court of right hand. Right hand, you now have a machete to a gun. And the Bible tells us about the right hand of God. What is it telling us? That when the brain works, it transfers to the right hand that hacks out to that achievement. And one is done, it takes the booty to the left. So you have an animal in the right hand or a human head on the left hand. An animal on the left hand or a human head on the left hand, which is the booty, which defines the booty of the enterprise. And people are telling us, if the Igbo man is leading in commerce today, if the Igbo man is leading enterprising spirit, is that cut of Ikenga, go-getter spirit. And that has nothing to do with idolatry. But you see people in Imo State, so no, it is idol. How can you develop spiritually? How can you develop culturally? How can you develop morally? When the standard root of your moral development is being destroyed in the name of Christianity and modernity. Does adoring of red cap define Igbo customs and tradition? After all, the red cap is an Arab product produced from North Africa. What you define as a symbol of Igbo culture today, red cap, is brought from North Africa. It's foreign. And come and tell us you are Igbo, you're Igbo. Some who cannot read and write in Igbo language. I tell you, we want you to be part of Southeast. We are watching. Because we want to see people who respect their customs and tradition, who respect their history. We're talking of Ikenga. Ikenga, the Ikenga we're talking about, is not exclusive to Igbo people. It's also found among the Gala. It's also found among the Edo. In Benin Kingdom, the custodian of collective Ikenga of Benin Kingdom is not the Oba of Benin, it's the Ezomo. The field marshal attending ranking to the 7 Ozamas, Ozamaniron. That's the Ezomo of Benin. Is the custodian of the king of Edo. Collective the king of Edo. They've not destroyed it. So you see a lot of people in the Southeast living fake Igbo life, fake cultural Igbo identity. And there are people disturbing people in Anioma land who have been able to preserve elements of the Igbo identity and elements of their Benin identity and elements of their Igala identity. All of them join together to form what we have today, even elements of Yoruba identity, join together to form what we know as Anioma culture, Enuani culture, Ika subculture, Enuani subculture, Wale subculture. I tell some people to go and read maybe Ford and Jones in his ethnographical report of Igbo and Ibibio speaking peoples of Southeast Nigeria also, so that they can understand some of these intricate issues of Igbo identity, history, and culture, before coming to the social media to voice out their ignorance. Putrid ignorance for that matter. And that is why I'm calling Soludo. Yes, sure. When we are talking about infrastructure development, normally not even P2B could match Soludo in infrastructure development. Fine, that is okay, no doubt about that. But that cultural identity is very, very important. Because if you look at those people who were actually accused of this fake ritual Igbo Igbo native doctors and whatever, further, they are found within central and southern senatorial districts of Anambra State. And these areas where the rich of abuse of Igbo customs and tradition in the name of Christianity and modernity run high. You can't find them among the Obaru people. You can't find them among the men or nature people. You can't find them among those in present Anambra subgroup, Anambra River Basin, Omabala Basin subgroup, where you're not talking of Oyi. You are not speaking of Anambra North, Anambra East, Anambra West, and Ayamelu local government areas of Anambra. You can't find. I was expecting Soludo to get one native doctor from this area, because in these areas, nearly every, especially when you come to Ayamelu, nearly every family has a native doctor, has a traditional doctor there. Not fake, real. And these are people who don't talk much about money, because when you're talking of money, not every part of Anambra State lost money the way some of other people do. People will not understand that at the time Professor Muneli was made the traditional ruler of Igbo town, he had no house of his own. He had no house of his own. Traditional ruler had no house of his own. Anytime he came to hold his, he was living in Oka. Anytime he came to hold his cabinet meeting, he would stay in his uncle's, in his brother's house to hold his cabinet meeting. He was a state commissioner. The only difference that he was an academic. The only difference that he did not steal money. He tried to maintain his low key. And this is something I want us to understand. And this explains why we in Delta State can, let me say, it explains why we in Delta State can just, we can get attached easily with people from Onitsha, with people from Oberu, with people from even Anam, and people from Igbo, because we have the same idea, the same, moral ideas when it comes to wealth acquisition. I found among our people, anybody who engages in wealth acquisition, like those people found in 419 or whatever, they're easily marked out among our people. They are not hidden under one guise of business engagement, enterprise. Oh, no. If you're a fraudster among Anioma people, you are easily fished out and put in your proper place. And that is why I want this Governor Soludo to go back and look at this issue of kinship dispute in return. I'm talking about in return, because it is very, very good, very, very significant when we are defining Igbo historical identity. We want an Eri king, an Ezenri, with the same courage, the same ritual properties, if not full, but partly, that were associated with Ezenri Tabansi Geoffrey II and up. At least to give us a semblance of the integrity of Igbo customs and tradition. We're not talking of Ezenri like the one of Onyeso, Njino Onyeso, who got up one day and said he had become Ezenri without Adama crowning him. And then with their connection, Aguku with money, the Anambra state governor, is it his brother, the former governor, now just gave him certificate of recognition and started parading as Ezenri. I know that if Soludo wants to do the right thing, we do the right thing. I've not been very close to him. I've not had any direct contact with him, but I've had, occasion to see him from distance on 2 occasions. First, as a student in the mid-80s, when he was a young, vibrant, flamboyant lecturer at the Department of Economics, always shining with shiny, oily face. And then with his characteristic shiny forehead, oil forehead, and then with his then trending metallic Mercedes metallic green Mercedes flatboat then. That was what he was. So he was one of the trending men in the campus then. My second experience of him was 2011 when I was in the entourage of Professor Bato Tommy's presidential campaign team. We have just we had just finished visiting the governor of Oyo State, Ladoja, now the Olubadan of Ibadan. And on our way back, as soon as we entered, we were moving with Pato Tommy's Toyota Corolla. As we were moving along the Enugu, along Lagos Ibadan Expressway, we saw a big convoy that blocked the road, moving in snail speed. Vehicles were lined up behind, and so on and so forth. And that was when Professor Soludo was governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. And Professor Pato told me that should be Soludo moving, because his convoy was very large and with mobile policemen everywhere. He said, let me call him so he can give us space to pass. So he called Soludo immediately. I said, oh, Pat, okay. He ordered his men to clear for us, and we passed the convoy. And that gave me a good impression of him, that even in his Olympian height of authority, he still recognized the importance of peer group relationship. So I passed him. So that were the only two occasions. But I've been following his activities since he became the governor. The only misgiving I had with him was the activities of his anti-tout squad that were using big clubs to club off people's ankles in the name of the execution or implementation of his policies and so on. That was only, and I know such as it had diminished now, if not ended. But in this, I was also happy when he handled the Oka case. Now I want him to use his position to go to Nri and look at the correct facts. Because the correct situation is that isn't retired to should be rotational between Akampese, the original zone, the original place of the original abode of this retitle. Nri, the usurpers, and Aguku, the usurpers. Aguku people have been able to manipulate these conflicts because of the access to government, because of the access to greater wealth, because they were fortunate to have met the white men and modernity first before Akamkwesi people, being situated close to the road to Oka. So I'm saying this with the insight of a professional historian who is an authority in Nri history, in Igbo history and culture, with particular reference to Nri. I've also been following the activities, all the crises that have been going on before the election, during Professor Soludo's first term. And I see where the government is a weakling, where the government shows utter weakness in handling this matter for obvious reasons. Because of overbearing interference of those who claim to be prominent men in politics from return. People like Justice Umade, people like Iyom Ekunife, who actually is from Ibuku, but married to Nri. These are people who use their positions to undermine the sanctity of Igbo history and culture in the name of trying to impose their own whims and caprices on what should be the right thing to do. Nri history is one of the best documented when you are talking of Igbo history. It's one of the most documented, if not the most documented. Maybe when we leave Onitsha. But after Onitsha, it's Nri. We are talking about the most documented Igbo towns in their pre-colonial history. pre-colonial and post-colonial histories. And we can get the truth about Nri town in history, with particular reference to the position of Ezenri and how it is taken from the works of first Major Arthur Glynn Leonard in his work Tribes of Niger Delta or whatever, Tribes of Southern Niger, published in 1906. Then followed by Northcote Thomas, his publication of 1913, the Igbo of Oka District, ethnographical report of Igbo of the Southeast, which is actually part 3 of his many, his compendium of researches on the Igbo and Asian. Then after Thomas, you now have Percy Amor Talbot, who worked in the 1920s. Of course, he recorded episodes of recoronation processes, especially including that of O'Reilly. P.A. Talbot. Then after Talbot, you now come to the master of all, who actually did his PhD on the divine in Kingship. We're not talking about Jeffries. Then after Jeffries, you now have Henderson, although Henderson did more on Onitsha. His work actually was centered on Onitsha. But then he dived into Nri substantially because of the nature of Nri influence, because there was no way you should have skipped Nri when you are talking of Onitsha. Because Onitsha actually was a pathway through which Nri people actually moved to the south, to the present West Niger Igbo and other areas. Then you now have Thurston Shaw's excavation, which even in his publication in 1970, he erroneously interpreted his excavation as that of Ezenri. Of course, he later reviewed it in his later publications. And of course, came Onwejogu in his copious study on Nritu, which also fought because he was sponsored by Aguku people. And Onwejogu was one of the problems we have today in history and culture. Because being sponsored by Tabansi family, Tabansi Motors, one for Tabansi in particular, the second son of Ezenri Tabansi, he was obliged to write in their favor against Akamkwasi people. But even going through his work, you find out there are areas where it becomes difficult to cover up truth in history. So there were a lot of things that Onwejogu contradicted his assertion on the superiority of Aguku people over Akamkwasi people. There are a lot. Because we have already today. Without the Adama family, who occupied the Umuokpala quarters in Oriri town, the Ezenri cannot be made. The Ezenri cannot be crowned. That's Oriri in the present Agwata local government area that migrated from Aguku. So you can see them. So can somebody now think he can become Ezenri like Onyeso? He became Ezenri without Adama crowning him, and they allow it to be sustained because they had money, they had influence, they had a connection in government. And that is one thing that is because I followed all the old issues, how the commissioner for local government area, in fact, I had to write a stinker to the commissioner for local government area, local government, chieftaincy, and community matters, Tony Collins, who I saw was a pawn to to Justice Umade, he actually caused much of the problem because he was not ready to come out and face it through. The facts in the issue of Ezenri situation in Anambra is very, very clear and easier to be solved than the case of Oka, which Governor Soludo recently solved. What are the issues? The Ezenri was never a true king. He was just a chief priest. Instituted, created, and crowned by the Adama. Ezenri, in his lifetime, even during Taban's time, was subject to Adama in Akampus, not to Aguku people. Because only Adama people could touch Ezenri, no Aguku people. Only Adama people could eat the food Adama Ezenri will eat. Only in Adama community, in Adama man's house, in Akampus, will Ezenri eat food. If Ezenri dies, no Agugu people will see his body. Only his children could touch him. Outside. So Ezenri was actually owned by Adama, and those people who witnessed Tabansu, the next Iguaro ceremony, we discovered that Ezenri never spoke. It was the Adama all the way that was speaking. We are not talking of Iguaro. It was Adama that undertook the Iguaro processes. Any ceremony, it was Adama. And these are the joys of that customs and tradition. When Ezenri dies, it's Adama that acts as the regent. Because all the shrines, the rituals connected with Ezenri are performed by the Adama family. And now I have one on Yeso. He has been trending, claiming to be regent to Ezenri. How can you be regent to Ezenri? Ezenri was what? Ezenri was a spirit. As soon as Ezenri became crowned, as soon as you are made an Ezenri, you automatically cease to be a member of your family. The wife you married before, the wife you married before will no longer be yours. You divorce them because they will mourn you and you are dead. You are not required to take another wife. And the children you had before, you become a slave, will no longer inherit your property because they've inherited you died. You are not a spirit. You're not a spirit. So how can somebody now come and say he's taking position of a spirit as a regent of the spirit? We treat these things with tribalities in the name of modernity and Christianity. And the Anambra state government, being not strongly culturally oriented, do not see the implications of those acts of desecration in return as important, as being relevant, as being cogent in the matter of Igbo history, culture, and ethnic identity. They believe that money solves everything. The matter of it is very, very easy. Now, as we said, the Ezenri was never recognized as a traditional ruler until 1976. And let me tell you people the uniqueness of Ezenri. All kings, Obi of Onitsha, Obi of Obado, they can appoint their cabinets. They can confer chieftaincy titles on their people. But Ezenri has no power to confer chieftaincy title. The only person who has right to confer chieftaincy title in return is the Adama, not Ezenri. I want people to understand the uniqueness of the situation so that it's not something we destroy in the name of Christianity and modernity, but it's something that we have to promote for the sanctity of Igbo identity, Igbo customs and tradition, so that the Igbo man will not continue to be a laughing stock before other ethnic groups in Nigeria. What you have, try to promote it to a stringent letter of origin, character, and identity. That is what we in Delta State, the Igbo-speaking group in Delta State are doing with our customs and tradition. Whenever there's a desecration attempt by any group to undermine it, you see people rising to say, no, this is not done. It is unacceptable. We will not accept it. So the situation is magically the mirror of Igbo ethnic identity and consciousness in terms of pristine customs and tradition. Let people learn through the experience what have been before the Europeans, at least, if not totally, but the likely, the nearness of what it used to be. And the matter is very, very simple. For people who don't know, it was a dispute over Nri conflict that led to migration of the present, to the founding of the present towns of Nova and Oreri. It led to the establishment of rival Ezenri king in Oreri, just that conflict. And when that conflict started, the Ezenri Nribuife reigned in Akampusi before the matter was, the throne was usurped. But Agugu people, mind you, the Agugu people were later immigrants. The Agugu people who are called Agugu today were not, the ancestors were not original inhabitants of it. They migrated from Aguleri through Amanuke, then to what we call Ubene. All of that in Awka North local government area. And it was from Ubene. They came. That is why when you see their settlement, you find that they are settled away from the lake. They are settled in less fertile area of Nri town, only divided by Ngene River, by Enugu, and then move a little bit, trekking distance, you get to Nise, then Aglo the other way. So they came and they usurped it. And Aguku was made up of other immigrants who came, those who committed abomination and ran to reaction. So a lot of them, including Nimo and other people, like the Tabasi group, migrated from Nimo. And a lot of them, even within Obago waters of our campus today, you still have Umo Chog, who have been proud to maintain their Nimo identity up to today. And that is the position. And then Aguku people took it, and then because those days, it's those who had money to appoint, to get Arab people, to get mercenaries or half people, that meant so whenever Akambusi people attempted to reclaim their, their kingship, the people, Aguku people, we hire mercenaries. Then we attack them, which led to a lot of them spreading to other areas of Igbo land today, including our present Delta State. That was the situation when in 1976, where through President General Obasanjo's local government reform policy and so on and so forth, states those that had no traditional kings, and they started reforming the chieftaincy and so on and so forth. So in 1976, Major General Brigadier General Tompera, the military governor of the Greater Anambra State, which is made up of the present Anambra State, Enugu State, and part of Ebonyi State, enacted Edit number 8 of 1978, of 1976. The local government reform was actually in 1975, and then the idea was in 1975, then came to 1976. The edit was promulgated by Ajo Atombera. And when it was promulgated, those communities in Anambra State already had warrant chiefs, or those who have kings. Those who have warrant chiefs were asked to convert their warrant chiefs to kingship. Those who already have kings their traditionally were asked to now present them to government for registration with their constitution on appointment selection, appointment, and confirmation, and so on and so forth. Like on each other, they already have, so they just submitted like other areas now. And then that was the issue. When it came to return Aguku people, they were the president and secretary of a Progress Union. They quickly submitted Tabansi to the government, to the state government, Anambra state government, as a recognized king, without consultation with Akampese people, who are the original custodians of the kingship. They're the 3/4 of Agugu have been manipulating it and then taking it over, stopping it. They took it up. Akampese people got wind of it and protested. That is what they have today as in political constitution, which is a write-off. Anybody who goes into will find out it's a write-off because it has no basis of existence. That's so-called progress. And I hope Anambra State government, I don't know, because Anambra State government is not interested in their cultural and historical promotion. They're not interested. And that is why there are a lot of immoral acts among their people. Because they're not attached to the customs and tradition, because the government of the day does not have interest in that. Otherwise, they should have looked into the so-called political constitution that now legalized Tabansi Udene as a traditional ruler in 1976. And when Akampese people protested, the government put a hold to it that Tabansi will not recognize until they've gone to Soto. They went back. The promise was that after Tabansi's death, they will not sit back and then carry out a consensus constitution that will now involve every part of a return. In the Ezenri throne, Ezenri title, all of them will now sit there and define it so that it become, it's no longer be as it used to be before. That was the agreement in 1976. Tabansi Udene was recognized. And when Tabansi Udene died in 1976, in 1979, instead of, normally they will give 7-year interregnum before a new Ezenri is appointed, is conferred. So within that 7 years, Akampese people continue telling these people, telling Agugu people, they had money. People like Onora, people like Injiko, Coca Oil, people like Tabansi Transport. So they had money, they had influence. People like, okay, Tabansi Printing Press, Tabansi Records, name them. They had money. Unfortunately, they've all gone now. You also had then Sam, senior advocate of Nigeria, Umadi, Chief Umadi then. So the Agugu people had the power to disobey the customs and tradition and hold the government of the day to ransom against Akampese people. The interregnum now came up. Agugu people again unilaterally appointed Onyeso as Ezenri. Akampese people appointed Chukwu Kadibia Obummo as their own Ezenri. So they were two rival Ezenri. Anambra State government did not try to investigate into the matter, answer to the matter. They were waiting for the pay because the average commissioner in Anambra State, because of they're there to make money so that they can compete with traders. That is why if you go to Anambra State, what is called is people building castle as their personal homes. Some of them don't even, some of them overseas in America and Europe, some in Lagos, they rarely visit there once, except those who live in Lagos, who live in around Nigeria, who live in Nigeria. These are the only people who visit once a year. Those castles being inhabited by lizards, war geckos, cockroaches, and so on and so forth. But those in overseas, they rarely visit there. 10 years, 5 years, you see them being redundant and they can't even maintain them. So every Anambra man who goes into the government today, instead of serving the people, we try to compete with those businessmen to build such structures. And one-to-one way of doing it is to take bribe. So if you give them money to subvert route, they will do it. And that has been the issue with the chieftaincy title, chieftaincy issue I'm not talking of Northfield, but I'm not talking of in the town. There's someone like Justice Umadi will walk into the office. Justice Umadi, who was the Chief Justice of Anambra State, retired Chief Justice, will walk into or give a phone call to the Commissioner for Local Government, who is a lawyer, Barrister Tony Collins, and give a call. You see that thing about just do away with it, trash it, and will obey. And those who have the historical advantage, the cultural advantage, the primordial advantage will be thrown out. This was the situation. And even when Ogbunmo was not recognized, he died wretched. The governor from Aguleri now recognized Engineer Onyeso. I said, because he was not crowned. He did not undergo the processes of coronation as Ezen, which we as historians want to witness in our lifetime. That's the answer, Ezenri. Without even the role of Adama, there are certain things Ezenri did or could do or will be allowed to do ritually, historically, and customarily, and traditionally. These are the joy of being a traditional ruler in Delta State, in Edo State, because there are do's and don'ts. Even as an Odogo of Ibuzo, I have my do's and don'ts. I know certain things I cannot do, even here in Philippines. Even here in Philippines, I know certain things I cannot. It's not the question of distance. It's a question of entanglement in the value of my customs and tradition with respect to my position as Odogo of Ibuzo. So that is what we are talking about, customs and tradition. There are certain things I cannot eat. Even here I'm in Philippines, even though, because my customs said I should not eat it. There are certain things I should not do, even when I'm outside, even when the distance is over, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. I can't do that. I can't take advantage of my, or disadvantage, or take advantage or disadvantage of my distance to desecrate my customs and tradition. It is not so. They had it, Onyeso doing it, and they allow it to pass. When Onyeso passed out now, the issue started again. It started again. After the 7-year interrogation, the same Agugu people refused. Even when their own Reprogress Union said, look, let us review that constitution. Agugu people insisting they will not do it, even against the government instruction, because they believe they are greater than the government because of their connections, because of their money, because they have people like Umar, they have people like a lot of them who can hand twist the governor, hand twist the commissioner, hand twist the deputy governor, and force them to do their biddings against the established, time-tested, and time-honored customs and tradition of the people. And they want us, who in Delta State, who are Igbo, to be proud to associate with this kind of people who don't respect their own customs and tradition. What is simple? What is the matter? That the Ezenri should be rotating between Akampisi and Agugu. And Agugu people are saying no. You are saying no. Does it belong to you? You are visitors. You are strangers. From Ubene. Your name was Agugu Ubene. To the knowledge of even the governor of Anambra State, Professor Soludo. Even kids in Anambra State. Ugwene is there. Your old place is still there. And you're talking of the owners of the land, Adama people that owned Aguku, that own return, the same Adama people that own Adazinuku town. Adazinuku have not denied their subservience in tradition to the Adama people of Adazinuku who own their land. Already people have not denied the fact that Adama people are the owners of Eze Kingship in Already. It is only Aguku people that can come out and say, Adama people are they are our treasure. When you just come and visit our history and customs, because our history, Igbo history and customs, because you have the money, you have the government collection, you have the impunity of having had the contact of Europeans and Christianity before I come with the people. And we're watching the governor. See what you do. Who are people that think that the thing cannot be? Look, that side doesn't know. For example, the Ojako family was in charge of the traditional relationship of Adazinuku. Now we have the Adama. First, second, third. Adazinuku people. So no, it has to rotate. No longer in Ojako's place. And accepted it. It has to rotate. No longer domiciled in Amolu quarters. Ojako family. Now it has to rotate between the three communities, the three towns, the three villages, the three quarters of Adazinuku. Amolu, Nuku, and Amata. And they agreed. Now, the same Kingship has left Amolu, has left Ojako's home, and it is now in Nuku village. After Nuku village, to where? It moved to Amata. The same thing has happened in Ogidi, where it was one domicile in Amobi family. And to know it is rotated. The same thing happened in Nimo, where it was one domicile in Onyuke family. So why should Aguku people think they are bigger than Anambra State? They are bigger than the governor. They are bigger than Igbo customs and tradition. Because we want to see an Ezenri that is crowned according to the tradition and customs of Nri people. So we as historians, we witness what we have been reading as text in history and anthropological books. I witnessed the governor during his campaign when he came to return and said that he will settle that matter in the kingship matter, and it will be a king selected for all. Not just a king selected, but a kingship, a king and Ezenri based on justice, collective justice, based on customs and tradition of the people, based on time-honored processes of selection, appointment, and confinement, as defined by the Adama of Nri kingdom. And I'm employing Anambra State Governor to relieve the Onyesoma who is parading as regent, to relieve of that position, because there's no regency in customs and tradition outside the Adama, because the tradition is very, very clear. If it's here in Adama, when homage is paid to the Ezenri pays homage to the Adama, it is a saying embedded in their customary practices. There's a saying that Adama, it is Adama that inherits Nri's property. Because when Ezenri died, only Adama can touch his property. The person who says he's now regent, he propitiates Nri, the deity of passage. Can he do it? It is only Adama that can do such. So I am calling His Excellency, Governor Soludo, to intervene quickly, as he did in Oka, and bring justice to our people, so that to Igbo people, so that let us see how the Ezenri coronation takes place with the direction of Adama. Let us see peace return to in return. If it is a question of if Agugu people want to have their own Ezen, their own town, fine, create autonomous community for Agugu people. But whoever they select as their king should not be Ezenri, because they don't have primordial rights. They don't have traditional custodianship of the title. If Agugu people want to be their separator, give them the separator, but they should not be given Ezenri title. Their king should be given Eze Agugu. The Ezenri, real Ezenri, should be domiciled with Akamkwese quarters. Thank you, everybody, and God bless you as we await for our excellency and see how far he will take his delight in taking over the reins of affairs in Anambra State. And when we're talking about Anambra State, we're not talking as it affects the totality of Igbo ethnic nation. Thank you, and once again, yours sincerely, Udogo of Igbuso, Dr. Nwankwo Anthony Nwezigwe, speaking from the beautiful city of Pasig, Metro Manila, Republic of the Philippines, Southeast Asia.